Jai Om Vishnu Pada Paramas Raj Kacharya Shri Shri Sri His Divine Grace Abhay Chanari the Bhakti Vedanta Swami Shri Prabhupada Ki Lord Krishna Vrinda Ki Tantra Shri Bhagavatam Ki Jai Gaur Premanand. You will have to let me share the screen from here. Okay, I'll do that first. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanishalaakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namne. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarini Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyaiva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Grateful to be here with all of you today. So, Kalakan Prabhu mentioned to me that yesterday's some portion was remaining, so I'll quickly summarize that. This is Krishna entering into Mathura, and he was initially obstructed by the demon in the form of an elephant, Kuvalyapida. And Krishna overpowered him. And basically, this whole narrative is quite dramatic, because this is Krishna's first entry into the big league. You know, suppose you have a sports competition, maybe a tennis competition, and there's some local tennis hero who is a sensation. But then the first time that person comes to a Grand Slam, US Open or Wimbledon, and there, how does that person perform is something which will take the whole world by storm. So Vrindavan is a small pastoral village. Most people don't even know what happens over there. Kamsa, as long as he's getting his taxes, he doesn't care what happens over there. And even when he sends his demons, what happens to those demons, actually nobody knows. That they die, that is clear, but how they die? Nobody lives to tell the story of how they died. And each of these demons is so arrogant that they don't even, the thought doesn't cross even one of the demons' minds that so many of the previous demons have been killed, so maybe we should go together as a group. No, that demon was a fool. I can do it. So each demon goes alone and each demon gets killed. So Kamsa realizes something is wrong and he surmises this has something to do with Krishna. But it's one thing to know, okay, XYZ did this, then to actually see that person in action. At one level, Kamsa is prepared. But if Kamsa's powerful demons like Trinavarta and others have not been able to do anything to Krishna, the idea that one elephant could stop Krishna is unrealistic. But still, he in general, one of the characteristics of arrogance is to overestimate one's power. It could be overestimate one's intelligence, overestimate one's power, overestimate one's perception, clarity, whatever it is. So he thinks all these arrangements will take care. And then after that, he has a wrestling arena. Now that is a particular diabolical arrangement, which I'll quickly summarizing that. But basically, as a king, no matter how cruel somebody is, most people don't want to come off as being cruel. They want to come off as good. So if you inviting Krishna to the public arena, he says, let's have a fight. And in the fight, if you are defeated, then my demon, these wrestlers will kill you. But even that fight is unfair because Krishna and Balaram are like small children. And Chanur and Mushtika, all these wrestlers are very powerful. They're hefty, well built. So even in that match, it's like in the Abrahamic tradition, we have what is that story? David and Goliath, yeah. He used that stone to fell him. So it is something like that. And yet, Krishna and Balaram effortlessly finish off all those wrestlers. And now, we take off from next point over here. So, two different persons reading. Yeah, go ahead, please.
The death of Kamsa. The audience rejoiced at this extraordinary feat. Outstanding work, outstanding, cried exalted saints and priests. King Kamsa, on the other hand, his plots all nullified, said, "Stop the music." Standing tall, he obstinately cried, "These wicked sons of Vasudeva do not deserve to stay. My soldiers, quickly arm yourselves and drive them far away. And as for all these coward yokels, confiscate their grains, impound their carts, and tie that foolish Nanda up in chains. Destroy the wretched Vasudeva, his fate is overdue, and kill my father Ugrasena and all his cohorts too. These relatives are traitors who oppose my every move. Now go with care. Don't stand and stare. We have no time to lose." While Kamsa lives, but
two things over here. Commentators in the Bhagavatam explain that while the residents of Mathura were mostly living in terror of Kamsa because he was a tyrant, a person who would kill his own nephews, a person who would imprison his own sister, is a person to be terrified of. And yet, when they saw Krishna defeating the wrestlers, they cheered. Now, that itself is an indication of Krishna's capacity to infuse fearlessness in others. Although Krishna was such a small child, but just seeing him doing this, just couldn't resist themselves from praising Krishna. And if there is one thing that an arrogant person, sometimes when we use the word demon, we may caricature there are some strange creatures with horns coming out of their head and teeth coming out of their mouth. Well, demon is more a mentality than a physical species. So one thing that demons or people with a demoniac mentality can't tolerate is the glorification of those whom they oppose. It's like, if you don't praise me, that will make me angry. But if you praise someone I oppose, that will make me angrier. So this is where It's like say, all the gloves come off, the mask completely falls off. And he says, till now, although he has been a despot, there are at least some restraints. It's now he just arrest Nanda. Even he says, kill my own father. Just destroy everyone who opposes. This is the danger of power. Generally, when power comes to a person, in society, somewhere or the other, somebody has to have power. That's the way society will function. But the defining difference between demons and those who are between the godly and ungodly is that the ungodly don't have any boundaries. Everybody gets angry. Everybody gets upset when things go wrong. But how far do they go when they get angry? So for the demoniac people, there are no boundaries. Their only boundaries are that which I can get away with. If I'm smart enough, I'm strong enough, if I'm shrewd enough to get away with something, then there's no reason to stop. If ethics is a boundary, if morality is a boundary, it's only utilitarian. For such people, morality is simply lack of opportunity. So they're moral as long as they don't have the opportunity to get out while being get away by being immoral. So here, all sense of boundaries is completely being dispelled. Yeah, please go.
While Kamsa leaped audaciously, Lord Krishna, quite enraged, ran over and jumped high upon the monarch's royal stage. As Krishna marched across the stage like death personified, King Kamsa quickly drew the sword that dangled from his side. Prepared to sever Krishna's head, revulsion in his eye, King Kamsa darted sideways like a falcon in the sky. But Krishna quickly seized the king, despite his thrusts and fakes, as easily as Garuda might pounce on deadly snakes. Lord Krishna grabbed King Kamsa's tresses, knocked away his crown, and tossed him to the wrestling mats still spread across the ground. He threw himself on Kamsa, and while straddling his chest, repeatedly struck Kamsa till his life force expressed.
So here two things. First is that Krishna is actually quite a dramatic person. So if you see all the demons that Krishna has killed in Vrindavan, one defining characteristic is Krishna does not ever use any weapons in Vrindavan. All the demons he's killed, it's almost like playful. A horse comes in, just puts his fist forward, and the horse gets, his mouth gets burned. Who is that? Keshi. A demon comes in the form of a whatever. If it comes in the form of a crane, Krishna just bifurcates it. Somebody comes in the form of a snake, Krishna just walks into him and then explodes his body from within. Krishna does not use any weapons. In fact, if you see in most of the demons with whom Krishna is engaging, Bala Kridana Kamiva. It's like a child playing with something like a toy-like item. It's where Krishna seems to have an earnest fight. With the wrestlers, he has a bit of a fight. Even with Kamsa, there does not seem to be a huge fight. Here also Krishna is transitioning from Vrindavan to Mathura. And Vrindavan is where he is Krishna Nato Natti Dharo Yatha. That when Krishna descends to a particular place at a particular time, he gels with the mood of that time, with the ethos of that place. So generally, Vaishyas are not known for brandishing weapons and using weapons. They have some simple things like sticks and something like that. So Krishna, when he's playing the role of a Vaishya in Vrindavan, he does not use weapons. When he goes to Dwarka and then he takes on the mantle of a Kshatriya, of a member of the ruling class, then Krishna will start using weapons. Now this is the in-between phase. Krishna is coming from Vrindavan to Mathura, and here he has a fight. Now he waits. In general, justice should not just be done, justice should be seen to be done. That's an important principle. So he lets Kamsa voice his despotism. so that everybody knows what happened, how atrocious, how outrageous this person is. Lets him speak it, and then after that, Krishna brings him down. Krishna could have done it all before. Krishna could have finished him off earlier, but first he let the wrestling match happen. Of course, in one sense, he was entertaining his devotees. He was giving for all of us pastimes to remember. But also, Krishna in Dwarka, or Krishna as a Kshatriya, upholds the principles of dharma, of virtue, of righteous conduct. And therefore, he lets people see this is the kind of person he is. And a person who is ready to kill his own father, a person who is that brutal, that person deserves to be killed. And thus Krishna brings him down. Please.
The people watching breathlessly thought Kamsa was knocked out, so Krishna dragged the demon's corpse to vanquish any doubt. He seemed to be a lion pulling prey across the ground. The crowd made loud, astonished cries that filled the sky with sound. At meals, at work, at rest, in fact, with every living breath, King Kamsa had seen Krishna and his razor disc of death. His meditation earned a boon that rarely fate affords, eternal liberation and a body like the Lord's.
This one. So two things here. First is that actually they could not believe that he was actually dead. So that's why Krishna dragged him along. He's really finished. They wanted to assure them, because this tyrant had been so powerful that even the celestials, even the gods in heaven were afraid of him. It's like some people, if we go to some part of the town and we get robbed, and then we go to the police and tell them about robberies, police say, why did you go there? Even we don't go there. So if even the police are afraid of some criminal, then for that criminal to actually be neutralized, people, has it really happened or not happened? So that Krishna is demonstrating that. And then this actually a major philosophical teaching of the Srimad Bhagavatam is that here Kamsa is said to attain eternal liberation. Now, how does this happen? That is, see, the Bhagavatam talks about two things over here. Can I share the screen here, please? Okay. Sorry? No, that screen, if I'm on Zoom, also on Zoom, but they will not see it here, is it?
Yeah, I will see.
Are you disconnected? That's fine. So generally, what is the what is required for attaining Krishna? Who attains Krishna? Devotion, but specifically, okay, pure devotion. Now, what does pure devotion? What does pure devotion involve? Okay, devotion and love are synonyms. Krishna, in the Bhagavad Gita, it is said that there's some who will attain him. What does that person have to do? Yes. So we can't thank you. That is recollection, we can say. Now, this recollection is not like a factual recollection. Oh, what is the capital of Ukraine? Or what is the date on which this country got liberated or got independent or whatever? It's not a factual recollection. This recollection is actually personal recollection. Personal recollection means when we remember a person, it's like we see someone. Then it's not necessary that when we see someone, we remember their birthday or we remember their height or weight or whatever. We remember the person. Now, some figures might be important, but what we remember is person's qualities, that person's activities. In the Mangalarti, we sing Nama, Rupa, Guna, Leela. That is there for everyone. Everybody has a name. Everybody has certain qualities. Everybody has some activities. Everybody has a form. So this personal recollection is the recollection of the Nama, the name, the form, Rupa, the Guna, the activities, and the Leela. So this is something spontaneously arises when we remember the Lord. And this remembrance is actually an indication of investment of emotion. If we meet someone and we tell that person, actually, you're the most important person I have ever met. Okay, another person says, okay, so what is my name? Yeah, I don't know your name actually. I forgot it. Well, if you don't know, remembrance is implicit to importance, isn't it? Now, of course, certain details we may forget depending on a memory. But if you don't remember anything about a person and you say, you are the most important person in my life, well, you're not very good at lying, you can say. So generally, remembrance is associated with love, with emotional investment. So remembrance is generally meant to indicate. So when we remember Krishna throughout our life, we remember Krishna at the time of death. It is when we attain Krishna. So that remembrance is basically the idea that our heart is so attracted to Krishna that naturally we think about it. Now there is one more thing over here. Here, Kamsa did not remember Krishna out of love. So the idea is that when we normally think of remembrance, we think of remembrance out of love. But the Bhagavatam says it is remembrance of Krishna that is all purifying. And that remembrance indicates an emotional investment. That our emotions are invested in the person. And the emotions may be invested out of fear. They may be invested out of anger. They may be invested even out of envy. They may be invested out of craving. So, in the 7th canto, it will be described out Bhayat Kamso Dveshat Chaitya Dayondrupaha. That Gopya Kamat Bhayat Kamso. The gopis, some of them are exalted pure devotees, many of them. But some of them are just women who are attracted to Krishna's beauty. But even they, by absorption in Krishna, they become purified. So, here Kamsa remembers out of fear, oh Krishna, this Krishna is going to cause my death. And that fear also leads to remembrance, and that remembrance purifies. So here there are two things now. We conclude this analysis with this point that there is recollection and there is disposition. That the fact that one is remembering Krishna and how is one remembering Krishna. So generally, if there is a loving relationship, the disposition is affectionate. And that is what we as devotees are recommended to cultivate. But the Bhagavatam demonstrates the potency of Krishna's mercy as manifested through his remembrance in extraordinary ways. And one of the ways it demonstrates is that even if somebody remembers Krishna unfavorably, still that person will be purified. So these are, you could say, exceptional examples. That means whatever be the disposition may be positive or negative, still they gain liberation. But the general method is what? We have recollection with positive disposition. Most of you have studied the Ajamil pastime, isn't it? Now, what is in the Ajamil pastime, the idea is that just one remembrance, one calling out Krishna's name, that delivers Ajamil. Now, on hearing this, Parikshit Maharaj doesn't think, if once chanting the name of Narayan is enough, why am I sitting down hearing for 7 days this Bhagavatam? It is a Shukdev Goswami, just shut up now. When that snake bird comes to bite me, I will chant one Narayan. He doesn't do that. Because, see, in general, any extraordinary examples of mercy. So, you could say, I use the word extreme here with extreme caution. Extreme generally has a negative connotation, but extreme can have positive or negative connotations both. Extreme is non-standard. So extreme examples, what is their purpose? The purpose is not to standardize the extreme. It is not that Kamsa, he remembered Krishna out of fear. So we also remember Krishna out of fear. We'll also get liberated. We will later have Shishupal remembering Krishna out of jealousy, envy. No, it is not to standardize the extreme. It is to emphasize the standard. That means if Krishna can be merciful even to those who remember him unfavorably, then how much more will he be merciful to those who remember him favorably? So Parishit Maharaj's conclusion is that if one chanting the name of Narayan can deliver, surely if I hear Srimad Bhagavatam for 7 days, surely I'll be delivered. Prabhupada writes in the purports over there, if once chanting Narayan can benefit so much, if we regularly chant the holy names, surely we'll be benefited. Surely Krishna will have mercy on us. So these extreme examples of mercy are not meant to minimize the standard process. Rather, it is meant to emphasize the standard that Krishna's mercy can go even this far. But that does not mean that we all can demand that mercy. That is not the mood of a devotee. That if we hear some charitable person, this person went to that charitable person and needed some charity, he gave $1,000 to that person. $1,000 is not a big amount, but $1,000 sometimes we give $10,000. That does not mean we go and we say, you got $10,000 to that person, you give $10,000. No, it's charity. We can hope. If I go and ask for some help, this person will help me. We cannot demand the exact same quantity of help. After all, charity is just out of the volition of the free person. Charity is not something which that person is obligated to do. So mercy is something similar to charity. And the principle is by hearing such extraordinary pastimes, they are not meant to subvert the normal system, but rather they are meant to inspire our heart to devote ourselves to Krishna.
The monarch's younger brothers, 8 in all, their jaws gone slack, became enraged and rushed the Lord in foolhardy attack. Resembling a lion king at play with several cubs, Lord Balaram dispatched them with a few blows with from his club. The gods so much enjoyed this unexpected circumstance, they showered flowers, praising Krishna as their spouses danced. The wives of Kamsa and his brothers, shocked and paralyzed, then struck their heads and claimed their dead as tears poured from their eyes. Embracing their dead husbands on a hero's final bed, the widows grieved aloud and through their veils and sobbing said, "O masters, dear ones, who shall be as kind to us as you? Your death is also our death, and your homes and funerals too. Now Mathura has lost its beauty, ours is gone as well. The happiness and fortune of our past have gone to hell. When you have been so violent to those who you should protect, what other fate beyond your own today could you expect? Lord Krishna should be honored, but you showed him such contempt. Your lives have ended this way, despite all your great attempts." The Lord consoled the widows with some kindly words, and then arranged on site the proper rites for funerals to begin.
So here also, we see 2-3 important dynamics. The family of Kamsa, his wives, at one level, they are naturally mortified. They're aghast when, can I share the screen? They are aghast when their husband is killed. And then similarly for his brothers also. At the same time, what's happening? So there are some normal human emotions which come, and those human emotions are entirely to be understood. Yeah. So they are afflicted, and that's understandable. See, our spirituality is meant to expand our consciousness beyond our humanity. It is not meant to, this is what it is meant to, it is not meant to extinguish our humanity. So extinguish our humanity means, even if they know that, okay, their husband was a demon, but still there was a natural familial affection over there. And because of that affection, they lament. They are grief struck. At the same time, they're also aware of his wrongdoings. And thus, they're not blaming Krishna. So there are natural human emotions that will arise. And sometimes we expect that the Bhagavatam is not just going to black and white completely. It's not saying that their whole family was demoniac and they all have to be wiped out. No. It's sometimes there is what is called as one country conquers another country. Then they're like, you have been our enemy, we'll destroy your entire country. There's something like ethnic cleansing, just annihilate that race completely, or just capture all of them and make them your slaves or something like that. My children and women are especially abused, but nothing like that over here. So the Bhagavatam itself is clear. They were demoniac, but their wives did not share their disposition. That does not mean they were heartless. Yeah, they had a heart and they naturally were afflicted when their husbands were killed, but they didn't blame Krishna. And Krishna also had nothing against the entire dynasty. After all, that was his dynasty itself. So he's consoling the widows. In fact, now Ram Navami is coming soon. And after Ravan is killed, Ravan's own brother, he has been so disgusted with Ravan that he went over to Lord Ram's side. Who is that brother? Anyone knows? Vibhishan. Vibhishan, thank you. So then after Ravan is killed, Vibhishan says, he was such a terrible person. I don't think he deserves the last rites also. I'm not going to do those. And Lord Ram says, no. The soul is always pure. In a particular bodily incarnation, a soul may do terrible things. And for that person should be punished in that body incarnation. But after that, do the last rites to let that soul go on its onward journey. So here, there is, like in the Western tradition, also says, hate the sin, not the sinner. Now, in this case, you're killing the sinner. Then aren't you hating the sinner? No. You're killing the sinner is not necessarily hating the sinner. Killing the sinner is simply if somebody has a lot of power that they are most likely to abuse, then their power has to be taken away from them. And sometimes that means taking away their body itself from them. But that does not mean the soul is to be hated. The soul is still to be respected. And that is what is being demonstrated by Krishna over here, that he is telling that he consoles the widows and he says, let the last rites begin. So the last rites are across all world cultures, across history and geography. The birth and death, especially death, is considered to be a very serious thing. Not just something that person's life has ended, but it marks a transition. And there are some kind of ceremonies to mark that transition forward, to bring a closure to that life. And that doing that closure is seen as one level of respecting the humanity, respecting the dignity of that person. And Krishna is respecting that dignity over here. Of even a demon who was out to kill his own father, to destroy his own family, he was already killed several of Krishna's brothers in the past. But Krishna, now that that chapter is over, now that he's no longer a threat, Krishna is not having any further antagonism towards him. Yeah, please go ahead.
Reunion. Next, Balaram and Krishna set their tortured parents free, displaying great respect by bowing down on hands and knees. Now Vasudeva and Devaki saw past their son's facade. They stood with folded palms and could not face embracing God. Since Vasudeva and Devaki held back affinity for their beloved Krishna and his clear divinity, the Lord invoked his power of illusion to restore the deep parental love for him the two had known before. My dearest loving parents, said the Lord respectfully, both Balaram and I have caused you such anxiety. Deprived by fate, we could not spend our childhood in your home, enjoying all the loving care you surely would have shown. The parents give the body, which accommodates the soul, and keep this precious vehicle protected, strong, and whole. Though he return a lifetime's service to the partnership, what man could ever compensate his parents for their gift? A healthy, wealthy son whose parents starve must realize the guards of hell will force feed him his body when he dies. A man of means who fails to care for parents, guru, wife, or children is a dead man who pretends to harbor life. For many years, we failed to honor both of you because King Kamsa always frightened us and passed unfriendly laws. Forgive us, father, mother, please. King Kamsa took away our freedom to express the love we felt for you each day.
That's 1 minute. So here, you'll see there's a remarkable devotional dynamism within Krishna Lila. You see, there are two aspects of God. One is his greatness, and the other is his sweetness. So this is, you could say, the glory of God. To consider a pendulum, the greatness of God, it inspires submission, it inspires humility, it inspires obedience. The sweetness of God inspires affection. And now, when there is a healthy balance of both greatness and sweetness, you consider pendulum in between the two of them, then strong devotion comes, which is a blend of submission and affection. We are aware of God's greatness, and we are also aware of God's sweetness. So, once I was giving a talk in India, and I was explaining how the Vrajavasis don't accept Krishna to be God. And one person in the audience, he rose his hand. I also don't accept Krishna to be God. So now, there is a big difference. The Vrajavasis not accepting Krishna to be God is because of transcendence. This person not accepting Krishna to be God is because of ignorance. So it's not transcendence. So we could say there are levels in our, if we consider our elevation in our relationship with Krishna or our Krishna consciousness. So at the very first level, we understand that God's existence. Then after we appreciate God's existence, then we appreciate his greatness. Then after that, we appreciate his sweetness. And the topmost level, there is appreciation of sweetness without greatness. Here, initially, there might be greatness without sweetness. That means, oh, God is so great. God will punish me. God will reward me. We don't treat God so much as a person as we treat God more like a powerful or a fearsome person. Like, okay, this person is the king. The king is pleased, the king will reward me. The king is displeased, the king can behead me also. So at this level, it's more the relationship is based on what God can do to me or for me than who God is. It's more of a transactional relationship. But that is also good. Initially, we need to be aware of God's greatness. And then as we move forward, we start becoming aware of his sweetness. But when you talk about sweetness, it is greatness plus sweetness. So we could say this awareness of God's greatness and sweetness, this is what is present in Vaikuntha. That is, in the spiritual world also there are the hierarchy. Vaikuntha is where Vishnu and where God in various forms of Vishnu is there. So there is definitely sweetness. There's a very special relationship. There is also the constant awareness. This is God we are dealing with. But in Vrindavan, there is the awareness of Krishna's greatness. No, the awareness of Krishna's sweetness. The gopis, they may know. Panifanarpitam te padambujam. They know that Krishna smashed and crushed the ferocious demon Kaliya by dancing on his hoods, which had poisonous fangs. But those same gopis in that same song, they say, Krishna, when you walk in the forest, and we think you're barefoot, and the twigs and the pebbles and the thorns, they may scratch your foot. We feel as a thought of those piercing your foot is ripping our heart apart. Now, here what has happened is, for them, they are so much filled with love and loving concern for Krishna that the Krishna is God, they're not aware of that. It has gone to the background. Not that they're ignorant, it has gone completely to the background of their awareness. So here, because Krishna has just spectacularly decimated Kamsa's wrestlers, destroyed Kamsa, the awareness of his greatness is very prominent in the minds of Vasudeva and Devaki. And they are his parents. But he's God. How can he be our child? How can we be his parents? So what is happening is, they are at this level initially. And what Krishna does is, Krishna by his words, it is said that Krishna expands his power of illusion. So there is one power of illusion which drags people's consciousness down. They're not even aware of God's existence or God's greatness. But there's another illusion which takes people's consciousness up. So we forget God's greatness in two ways. One is that we don't care for God at all. Or we care for God so much that we care for him, not because he's so great, but because he's so wonderful, because he's so lovable. So this downward is what happens by Mahamaya. When our awareness of God's greatness is obscured, we go into illusion, that is Mahamaya. Whereas now they are going into Yogamaya. Yogamaya is, this word will come later also in the Rasa Leela. Yogamaya. Does anyone know what is the meaning of the word Maya? Maya? Illusion, right. And that which is not. What is the meaning of yoga? Union, harmony, connection. So in one sense, yoga, Maya are two opposite words. The whole point of yoga is to take us out of Maya. When we connect with Krishna, when we unite with Krishna, when we harmonize with Krishna, we're no longer in Maya. So yoga Maya is what is in English called as a oxymoron. Oxymoron is two opposite words brought together. Oh, he is a brilliantly stupid person. That was an act of courageous cowardice. He is a millionaire pauper. It doesn't make any sense, but it makes a deeper sense of it. So yoga Maya is, Maya normally puts us in illusion. Yoga takes us out of illusion. But here, this is the Maya, this is the illusion that deepens our union. Normally, the illusion, it deepens it worsens our disconnection from God. But in this case of Yoga Maya, it is an illusion that increases the connection. So that's what will happen over here. When Krishna is speaking the sweet words, talking about how I could not care for you, how I was afraid of Kamsa. Krishna was not afraid of Kamsa. Krishna just beaten Kamsa almost effortlessly. But Krishna is acting like a small child. And when Krishna acts like a small child, then his parental mood will awaken in their heart. And thus their union with Krishna, their absorption in Krishna will increase. So Krishna is here manifesting Yoga Maya.
To hear their darling Krishna making statements such as these made Vasudeva and Devaki choke up and feel quite pleased. Parental love for Krishna flooded both their eyes with tears, and speechless, they embraced the sons they'd missed for all these years. Lord Krishna gave the throne of Mathura to Ugrasen. We're cursed to never take this throne ourselves, the Lord explained, but have no fear. We'll both stay here and join your entourage. What other king shall challenge you, O king? Indeed, what gods? Lord Krishna welcomed family members back from long exile. They'd fled in fear of Kamsa, but could now be reconciled with friends and loved ones they had left behind some years before. Appreciating Krishna, they rejoiced at home once more. Protected by Lord Krishna, all these pious refugees felt safe and pleased in Mathura with Krishna's devotees. And watching Krishna smile each day, which they would do at length, made even elder refugees feel young and full of strength. When Krishna and his brother had seen every need addressed, they came before King Nanda, hugged him tight, and expressed, "O Father, you and Yashoda have cared for us so well. You loved us more completely than you even loved yourselves. When parents who give birth cannot fulfill their children's needs, adoptive parents such as you are true parents indeed. Return now to Vrindavan, Father. We shall see you when we've given some relief here to our long tormented friends." Consoling Nanda and his men, Lord Krishna then bestowed a host of gifts on them, including jewels, tools, and clothes. Lord Krishna's speech made Nanda weep and left him overwhelmed. He hugged his sons again and slowly went back to his realm.
Yeah, this is one of the most heart-wrenching moments of Krishna Leela, apart from when Krishna leaves Vrindavan and the gopis are heartbroken at that time. This is another level of separation, and in the Goswami literature like Gopal Champo, this is described elaborately. That it is, see, at this stage, Krishna is just acting like a responsible adult, but Krishna is barely 10 years old. He is, at least within the Leela, is less than 10 years old. And for him, try to imagine the situation that there was a child who left his parents and he was adopted or he was taken care of, is with foster parents. And now that child has come back. And now he's going to be with his normal parents or with his birth parents. And now it is for that child to tell his foster parents, "I'm not going to come back with you." And normally, that's too much of a burden to place on the child. And the parents should have that discussion. But Vasudeva and Devaki, while they are very happy to have Krishna back with them, they're thinking that how can we repay Nanda and Vasudeva? Nanda and Devaki, Nanda and Yashoda, sorry. How can we tell them that we want Krishna back now? And Krishna feels that I cannot put my parents through this pain. So what earlier he said, that I couldn't serve you so much. One sign of love is that we try to do ourselves the activity that would cause our loved ones pain. Okay, if somebody needs blood, okay, instead of you giving blood, I'll give my blood. It's uncomfortable, it can be painful, but I'll do it. So here Krishna as a child takes up that it's not easy, but telling his foster parents, who are more than his parents, as he said, you allowed me more than what a normal parents would love a child. He's telling them that I cannot come back with you. I will stay. In one sense, Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda, they had no idea about this. They knew Kamsa has called them and Kamsa has to go. Krishna actually has to go there. And they were delighted to see Krishna killing Kamsa and everyone. They thought Krishna will come back to us. This is especially painful moment, not just for Vasudeva, for Nanda Maharaj. Yashoda is not here right now. It's also for Krishna. Should we stop?
Since Vasudeva at last could do the things he'd never done, he called for priests to now complete the rites for both his sons. The boys retrieved their Gayatris, a person's second birth, and Vasudeva gave everyone donations of great worth. He gave out costly ornaments like famous kings of old, along with many cows and calves adorned with cloth and gold. Released from Kamsa's prison, he gave gifts of every kind. When both his sons were born, he'd done the same thing in his mind. Both Balaram and Krishna seemed like good, submissive boys, completing all these rituals with gravity and poise. Approaching Gargamuni, honored guru of their peers, they vowed to stay as celibates throughout their student years.
Thank you very much. Tantra Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Krishna Prabhupada ki, Gaur Bhakta ki. Gaur.